playing the beta, bro.
What is
Interrupt the stream.
happening?
How big are you talking about?
Oh my god. Clay, I'm coming.
Yo, I'm Claysthetics, and New World's Endgame is completely broken, okay? We've got melted GPUs, bosses that don't exist, endgame zones that don't work, and a ton of problems to talk about. But let's hope they can revive New World's Endgame and that we're the first step in that direction. This is the reason PvP needs to be force-enabled in all the endgame regions. I'm just talking Shadow Mountain and Eden Grove, okay? It's a PvP-centric game. It's focused, and very specifically, you have an entire group, an entire guild, just not flagged up. Our guild's flagged up, and the reason should be it's the most contested area because it gives you the best things. And because of the way the watermark specifically works on your character and how the game actually plays out for you to get 600 item level gear, it's very important that it maintains this dynamic, because if not, you have zergs of people running around unflagged, just looting chests and killing monsters just to get their watermark up. Not saying this doesn't look cool, but there's nothing here and the portal doesn't work, okay? That's a big problem. So you're going to see here that these guys just get absolutely farmed, right? We pull Big Boy, boom. These guys shouldn't even be here, but because they're in a giant zerg, because they're not flagged up, they get free reign. They're just running around looting chests. So now I'm going to tell you how your watermark actually works. The fastest way to run this down is to basically look at Calopsia 7's post. Basically, once you hit level 60, your gear score watermark starts at about 500 and slowly increases as you gather chests, kill elites, and basically just do endgame areas. That's like the 3 key points of this. The whole point is for you to just slowly grind it out, and you're probably not supposed to be privy to the knowledge of this being the way your gear progresses, because now all you do is you go to these areas, you keep looting chests, you keep killing the mobs, and eventually you're just going to be getting 600 gear, right? Or at least that's how you think it would work. Basically, you can kill mobs in Mirgard and bosses and stuff, and your gear can drop at 600 without having to do all this grinding, right? Same thing with Tower of Malevolence. It can. However, it has a lower chance to because your base watermark is so low. So when we went, people were getting some gear between 500 and 600. One guy got a 600 piece, a couple people got 520s and 540s. It really depends on the tier of the mob, right? So if you have your gear score watermark high enough, essentially it's going to cut the base end out of that, right? So now I'm going to show you how to like determine your items and the best places to get them. Database items, armor. Okay. And then you have to go back to database on the left, scroll down to armor. Let's just say you want earrings. So your earrings, we go tier 5. Right, let's go legendary, okay? So we have a couple earrings here, and the one in particular that I've already farmed is Rodiger's Sailhook. So you click on it, you scroll down. Now you see these mob names, and you're like, Decrepit Abomination 43, Ugly Destroyer 48, Surgeon level 60. So the mob I decided to farm was the Surgeon because he's level 60. It's the most viable. He's in a pretty easy area to access. So as you can see here, we already farmed up Rodiger's Sailhook, and it's only item level 500, but we saw that it could drop in the 500 to 600 range, which means I need to loot more chests, kill more elite mobs, and basically just play more to get a higher base item level, right? So we kill them again, loot the chest. We know the chest can't really drop that much because of the area that it's in, so we got the 480 piece, but if you look, we have a 505 spear and a 508 shield. Now, as I farm more, I'm going to get better stuff. So that means I need to go complete a ton of endgame stuff. I need to get my watermark up, come back and farm this guy, and then possibly get a 600 version of this. The real issue is being able to farm your watermarks for free, being able to go do all this stuff for free. Just get into a big zerg, turn your PvP flag off in the most contested region in the entire game for the best stuff. This doesn't feel like it has a place in a PvP focused game. Now, if it was a PvE focused game, I would understand it. But the whole point of the game is to get stronger to PvP. There's no raids. All of the bosses in the game can be done with 5 people. It just doesn't make sense. The next big thing is the GPU just complete meltdown. This is Amazon's fault. No other game is melting graphics cards. And the reason you can see here, look at the room flickering. There's so many underlying texture problems and just general issues with the game itself between crashing and everything. They need to get this sorted out because it is breaking people's computers. It's not okay. And this is easily a seizure warning. Now we're going to talk about the endgame bosses and how they're not accessible. The whole reason we came up to Mirgard was to kill corrupted Captain Thorpe as a group, okay? The problem was his room's inaccessible, okay? And now there's a bunch of bosses that you can't access. On my server, Eden, You cannot kill Beast Dryad in Malevolence because he is not there. Malevolence has been bugged out forever. I posted on Reddit asking a question about this, and somebody replied to me saying Malevolence was very bugged out. I didn't know that because I never went to Malevolence on the beta, okay? I never got to this point, but they said this is one of the worst regions of the entire game. It's still not fixed. The guy's not there. This is for the 580 hammer quest, by the way. There's 580 weapons in the game that you can do just by questing around. Now, it's an adventure, okay? But you can get it. The problem is you can't get it if the mob isn't spawning on your server. Now, a lot of people don't know that individual servers are having their own problems, but this is a reality, okay? There's servers where Amorine was undoable. There's some of the dungeons that you literally couldn't enter. It would eat your key, nobody could enter the dungeon. This was happening on quite a few servers. Quite a few servers are having issues where specific mobs aren't being spawned. Again, Corrupted Captain Thorpe is a prime example of this. You can't access him. Because of the corrupted portals, they're disabling certain areas. Some things aren't spawning in. This is the end of the game. I understand that not a lot of people are here yet, but the reality is, if you watch one of my other EXP guides or something, it's very low effort. It only takes about 70 hours of pretty casual play to actually hit level 60 if you understand what you're doing and you understand the direction. So getting here actually isn't much more difficult than leveling up in like a World of Warcraft expansion, right? You can get there extremely quickly for almost no effort put in. So the end of the game feels extremely broken because there's just nothing there. Azoth staff's not working. Almost everybody here, irrelevant if they're getting farmed by PvE mobs, has a tier 5 Azoth staff. Now, we beat the portal, and the problem is you can't close the portal because it says your staff isn't equipped. How on earth does it say my staff isn't equipped when I clearly have all three, tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5 staffs in my bag? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. So now you can't do endgame corrupted raid portals. You can't do the endgame bosses that aren't there. See the problems that are stacking up and adding up. You can't do a lot of the things that you're set out to do. How big are you talking about?
Oh my god. I am coming.
Now, elite bosses are something that I think they did pretty okay. Now, only needing 5 people to kill one of these elite bosses really doesn't feel the worst. However, when you come down to killing an elite boss or like a world type raid boss, right? Like I guess that's what they're supposed to be. It feels really bad when you've hit it a bunch of times, and I know most of you even felt this leveling up. When you're hitting an elite mob and too many people are hitting it, it doesn't drop loot, okay? So, I get loot here. I hit it enough. But a couple of times we killed it, nobody got loot. See the problem? Now, we're looking at Morzul, and his leash range is so small, but he's this giant one-textured Diablo monster, right? So, travel back a couple of years and he just keeps resetting over and over again. It doesn't really make sense. And this is one of the guys that's supposed to be able to drop the 600 item level gear in the game, right? He should be at least in working order for the most part. So we all have to stack up and burn him down. Not saying we didn't have fun doing any of this, by the way. A lot of us had a really good time. This was a great adventure, and we all went out together and had a lot of fun. But the real problem is when it's consistently bugging out, when it's consistently breaking, when things aren't there, it starts draining on you quite a bit. And it kind of sucks to have to deal with it like that, right? Now, the things they can do to like fix this are really, 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 honestly, take a look at the textures, take a look at everything, take a look at release range on mobs. One of the biggest things about these world bosses, most people are just going to stand up on a block and just keep shooting it in the face and bug it out. And they can you can solo this as like a fire mage, for instance. You can solo Morzul on just standing on one of those bricks. You can just 100 to 0 him. It might take you 20 minutes, but you can kill him by yourself, right? Here you see I get a legendary pattern piece, which is awesome, right? Like I get a crafting piece. But the problem is most of these bosses that can be actually soloed, people are farming those up, no problem, right? They're bugging them out. They need to implement some sort of, if the boss hasn't hit someone in an X amount of time, he just resets. That's as simple as it gets. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but they need to start implementing fixes. We need to start having changes, right? We need to have these end game regions unlocked. We need to have like things like Corrupted Captain Thorpe available. They need to sort the tier 5 Azoth staff thing out because it happens to tier 3, 4, and 5. It's not like it's just a 5 problem. There's a bunch of people that have a ton of issues. Now, this is what happens when you fight a real endgame monster. You get farmed a little bit, okay? Now, this is how it should be. You should have to take a raid of people. You should have to get a group of the homies together and go farm something because we had a blast in this area. This is the eternal pool.
I am coming.
You got me, bro?
I'm saving
No, when you
Oh,
get
there's
this.
lasers. There's lasers.
Yo, you're a king, bro. You're a king.
No. All right, now give me. Now give me.
I got you. Don't worry.
Oh no.
It's too easy. It's too
No,
easy.
He's healing.
Oh my god. Okay, give me.
Now we're gonna look at forts. Forts are something else. Okay, they're very difficult and they degrade your town. As you can see here, I don't think it's really working how it's supposed to be. But who am I to say anything about the fort? In my opinion, the forts, obviously it's supposed to be dealt with by a higher tier settlement or fort, right? For these corrupted invasions. And the big problem here is that it's hard to level it up when things are constantly degrading, right? So I think that the lower tier that the fort is, the lower tier the invasion should be, and the lower tier the reward should be. And as you tier the fort up, the invasion should get harder and the reward should get bigger, right? Start low, go high, make it accessible. So if a bunch of low geared level 60s were to sign up for this, for instance, they wouldn't be able to kill the mobs, they wouldn't be able to help, they wouldn't be able to do anything, right? So you run into a dynamic where the town's going to degrade, and we were a really geared group and we had the majority of people we wanted in, and we still couldn't do it, right? It should be based off of the tier of the town, it should be based off the tier of the settlement, all the upgrades, the gates, the cannons, everything. It should be based off of what it is rather than the very end, right? This would make it a lot more fun. You'd be able to have a whole bunch of random people in there just having fun, doing the entire basically like mini raid, right? And it would be more fun for everyone rather that way everyone wins, right? That's a big problem with games now is you create a bunch of systems and they try and make everyone win without actually giving the ability to get to the finish line or win. They just give them the ability to go and try to win, but there's no possible way to win, right? So that becomes a really bad dynamic in every way because it's not fun for the people who have to carry it, and it's not fun for the people who get one-shotted by the mobs or go in and they're like, oh, I guess I couldn't do it. But then even worse is the people that showed up are responsible for degrading the town, right? So you create a massive negative environment for random people to try and go have fun, which isn't okay. Like I said, if it was lower tier to start and ended at a higher tier, right, it would be a lot more fun for everyone. Make sure that there's like a gear score requirement when you enter. That way, like let's say there's a tier, like a full tier 5 settlement, full tier 5 fort. The people who show up are going to have to be like, let's say 560 plus, right? That way, if someone who signs up who's 500 item level, let's say they get into like a 600 item level raid, they're not going to have fun. They're just going to explode over and over again and die in one hit, and they're going to think the game's bad, right? It's not like I'm trying to be an elitist or try and like gatekeep people out of the game. As a matter of fact, I want more people in the game having fun in the correct ways. And that's the whole point of this is more people need to have fun. More people need to be brought together and more people need to be able to access more stuff in the game that you can do as a group, that you can do for fun. More PvP things need to be added. Like I said, Shattered Mountain and Eden Grove need to be forced PvP. They need to be. Eden Grove, I would say the Well Guardian, probably the only one that shouldn't be forced. But those regions are for endgame grinding, they're for endgame farming, and having that level congestion, adding luck, let's say, to PvP flagging. Because once you hit max level and level 20 weapons, there's no point in killing other people anymore because there's no incentive or reward. You just kind of, like, why bother when you could just work together, right? But at the same time, you don't want to work together because the monsters have tag limits. So what do, right? So like you're burning a elite boss and you don't get loot? What's the point, right? So you should be force flagged. You should have to kill the other group and then you can fight the boss and then you can get loot from the boss. You can do all these cool fun things and it forces you to be in a guild. It forces you to be social. You should have to play with other people. You shouldn't be able to just solo game it. And I solo gamed a lot of this stuff because I was one of the first level 60s. I soloed all the Shattered Mountain stuff. There's a whole bunch of quests that give you 580 gear, 535 gear. These quests are amazing and you have to do them, but you can't do most of them without a group, right? So you have to gimmick, you have to learn how to bug the mobs out, you have to do all sorts of parkour craziness. And it's a lot of fun, right? The solo part of the game is fun right now. However, they need to implement things for groups and more group related content, right? The content is there. There's no doubt about that. It's there, but it needs to be changed and altered so that it's one, in a working condition. Two, things need to actually be there on all servers. Things can't be broken for a week. Okay, they need to just be active and working, right? I get that it's a brand new game. However, this was in beta for like years, literally years. All of these complaints about these things not working are on their forums, on everything. Okay, it's not like Amazon's an indie company. They are the richest company on the planet. Okay, this is inexcusable, and this is just honestly kind of sad. In the grand scheme of things, they need to do better. And that's as simple as it gets. The Amazon Games department has been a letdown for years. And this is the first thing that they've done right. And I honestly must say the game is beautiful. It is really well done, but it is absolutely disgusting that they're breaking people's computers. And it's the game's fault. Don't let them fool you. It's not your graphics cards manufacturer's fault. Okay. It's New World's fault. Okay. Shroud's power supply blew up on stream. Okay. Tim the Tatman's 3080 blew up on, or 3090 blew up on stream when he was playing the beta, right? Prominent people, streamers in the communities, are losing computer parts. How many normal people like us are just sitting there having parts broken that don't get talked about, right? Or how many people are having their computers break down that can't afford new stuff, right? They can't play New World. They can't risk playing New World, right? How do you feel as an investor in Amazon when you look at the potential million active players and only 200,000 can play because of the server limits, right? It seems ridiculous in every way, shape, and form. Things need to change, things need to be fixed, and we're the start of it. We have to push them, and if they can't fix it, this is it. There isn't another MMO coming out. Ashes is years off, right? We don't have other options. And that's the reality of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Didn't want to be too negative about New World. I love the game. I want it to go in the right direction. And the only way we're going to get it in the right direction is work together. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you tell me what you think, what you need changed in New World. Okay? If we don't do it together, it's not going to get done.